Council is now in session.
Yeah.
Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Danuski.
Here.
Councilmember Herbig.
Here.
Councilmember Curtis.
Present.
Councilmember Sperry.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Van Ness.
Here.
Mayor Baker.
Here.
Thank you.
I don't often get to do this, but I'm really going to take advantage of this tonight. My wife's in the audience. Sherry, would you please stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. If there are no objections, the agenda will stand approved as written. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation. And I understand we have people here tonight. So, whereas North Shore Schools Foundation exists to raise funds and build partnerships to support academic success and excellence for all North Shore students for career and or college readiness at graduation in alignment with North Shore School District priorities of student achievement and success at grades pre-kindergarten through 12 and beyond, high standards of performance, physical stability to support student learning, effective communications, and community involvement. And whereas the North Shore Schools Foundation has established the following priorities to direct NSD funding through a granting program for district-wide curriculum enhancements, innovative classroom grants, scholarships for teachers pursuing the National Board teacher certification, as well as literacy and arts and science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, advanced and disadvantaged learners, and health and enrichment. And whereas the North Shore Schools Foundation represents the public arm of support for public education in the North Shore area, operating separately from the North Shore School District. And whereas the North Shore Schools Foundation plays a key role in the North Shore School District's recognition as one of the top school districts in Washington State and across the nation. And whereas the North Shore Schools Foundation has granted over $1 million to schools in the North Shore School District, funding programs and resources that benefit every student up to 18 times during their school career, from kindergarten through high school. And whereas the North Shore Schools Foundation is funded solely through private contributions made annually through the All In for Kids Fall campaign, the Light a Fire for Learning Spring Luncheon, and the Milk Money campaign, workplace giving, corporate matching grants, legacy giving, Amazon shopping, plus other events from supporters who include students, parents, teachers, staff, residents, local businesses, regional industry, and community-wide supporters of our schools and students. And whereas the North Shore Schools Foundation has mobilized a significant volunteer effort of over 200 people to support the mission of the foundation in all of the North Shore School District schools. And whereas the North Shore Schools Foundation has earned the gold participation level through the Guide Star Exchange. Now, therefore, I, David Baker, Mayor, City of Kenmore, Washington, on behalf of the City Council, am pleased to proclaim November 2015 to be North Shore Schools Foundation Month in the City of Kenmore, and I urge all citizens to support the foundation. So, people from the North Shore Schools Foundation, if you want to come up, we'll give you this proclamation.
Hold on, we're just a little slow. We're just organizing.
I'll tell you what, the schools mean a lot to us. We're very, very proud of the schools of the district. And I had the pleasure of speaking on Saturday at the 50th anniversary of the Kenmore High School. So, thank you guys. Thank you all. All right. Next item on the agenda, citizen comments. This is an opportunity for you to speak to us about issues that are important to our community. We ask you to please limit your comments to 3 minutes. There are those that work very hard to do just that. So if the clerk would please call the first person.
Mark Kenmore.
Okay, good evening. So my name is Mark Kenmore, and I'm the Efficiency Outreach Manager for Puget Sound Energy here in King County. And there is an issue that I want to, or more an opportunity that I just want to make the council aware of. It's a campaign that we're starting tomorrow. This is it's called the Small Business Direct Install Program. We've chosen the city of Bothell for our third and final blitz of this program for the year of 2015. So what we do with this program is we bring it into communities throughout the year. And it's a free program, so we're not able to offer it or advertise it. So we just pick a few communities to focus on each year, and Kenmore is one of those communities this year. So it's a turnkey model, and it's designed to meet the needs of small business customers who've been traditionally hard to serve with our energy efficiency programs. What we offer them is basically, we come into their building with an auditor, survey the property. Properties that are less than 10,000 square feet are eligible. So we really are trying to serve small businesses. The auditor identifies any inefficient lighting. It's mostly lighting, but we have other measures that we can do, like hot water heating and occupancy sensors, those sorts of things. And then any inefficient lighting that is found, or if there aren't occupancy sensors or the like installed in the building, we will replace those all for free with mostly LED products. Any electrical work that needs to be done, any permitting, the contractor takes care of. We're targeting hopefully about 75 businesses here in Kenmore, which we'll be doing starting tomorrow, the 13th, and the 14th, and the 15th. So it's something that we really love to offer, and we can't, like I said, serve every community, but we just try to be really intentional about the types of communities that we do try to serve. We did a pre-walk 2 weeks ago, and all the business owners in the community have been really supportive. Everybody's been very friendly. They're all excited, and just their level of receptiveness to energy efficiency has been really encouraging. So we're expecting really positive results from this campaign. We've been working closely with Nancy Owsley on this. Mayor Baker was nice enough to pose for a photo that we used as a promotional piece to, help the businesses know that this is indeed legitimate. So it's just been really great, and so I just want to thank you all for allowing us to bring this program into the city of Kenmore, and hopefully we'll see some great results. I'll be back on November 9th to deliver the results that we'll have for you then. So we'll be able to figure out exactly how many kilowatt hours of electricity and therms of natural gas we've been able to save using this program, but we're anticipating, really high participation. And I have to say, we're having a party on Thursday at the 192 Brewery, which you've all been invited to. Please join us. This is an opportunity to celebrate just the success that we've had, and we've mailed a mailer out to about 9,000 residents in Kenmore. So there will be prizes, there will be food and drink, and I'm out of time. But please join us on Thursday. It's going to be a lot of fun, and just an opportunity to interact with some of your constituents. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mark, could I ask you to, Mark?
Yeah, sure.
Could I ask you to come over here first before you sit down? Thanks.
Any questions?
He did. Jim Freeze.
Hi, I'm Jim Freeze, resident of Bothell. I'm also founding executive director of Friends of North Creek Forest, working to save an urban forest in Bothell. Project that's been 5 years and almost complete now. I'm happy to report. I'm here to speak in support of a proposal before you by artists Agal Cully and Stacy Admin. Stacy, our local North Lake, Washington sweetheart artist. I am totally grateful for, and you all know her already. I want to tell you something about how I met Gall, though. I was in a restaurant with a friend, one of my more conservative friends, a banker, a land developer, and he saw this poster for a hydroplane race that you guys were starting to revive that happened back when I was a kid. And he said, I got to have that. Well, the event hadn't happened yet, but he took it off the wall. He just turned klepto. He was really attracted to it. And Gall happened to be sitting right behind us. And she said, I could get one of those for you if you like. And that went on to, what are you doing? What are we doing? And she says, I have to help with this forest. Show me the forest. And I took her for a hike in the forest, and she said, I've got to do something for this. And she ended up contacting us about 2 weeks later. She talked to the manager of Top Foods in Woodinville and sold him on putting together their first big art show in their restaurant there in the store. She recruited University of Washington art students and worked through interns with the University of Washington Department of Student Education and Community Education and Research. And she put on this big show. The manager got so excited, he put cans at every cash register. We ended up making it into the Woodinville newspaper for the first time. We've had a lot of wonderful publicity. We've been very lucky that way. But this is our entry into Woodinville. That led to a really big donation, and that same person the next year held a very successful fundraiser for us. And as you know, doing something like putting together an urban forest takes community, working with city. It takes a big community of people, and it takes people like Gall who stepped up. Eric Admin and Stacy Admin have also participated in that very, very actively. And it's people like this that have made it possible for us to do what we did in Bothell. So thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fries.
Mary Farby.
I'm Mary Farley, and I'm also from Bothell, and I'm also here to support your consideration of the mural by Gall and her friend. Gall went to graduate school with my niece in San Francisco. I never met the woman. I get an email from my niece. She's coming up here, and she's going to do some artwork, help her. So I started talking to her, and I said, talk to her, do this, do this, do this. And she was working on the SLU race meeting thing, the big do that she finally did bring off. And she said, we're going to have hydroplane racers, and we're going to have old racers, and we're going to have the boats, and we're going to have food, and we're going to have people from various museums and stuff like that. And I'm going, Gall, this is the first time this has ever happened. You're trying to do too much the first time, and I don't want you to be disappointed. I said that more than once to you, didn't I? Well, the day of the races, I went over and represented the Bothell Historical Museum, and there were hundreds of people, as you know. Yeah. There were hundreds of people talking about boats. There were lots of boats there. There were big boats, small boats. There were people with their kids talking about the races and what it meant to them. People that I've known my whole life actually were the ones that were water skiing behind the boats the day after the great race. And they're normal people who should never have done that, and they know it now. And he said, this was the best day of my life. Oh. Now, I mean, everybody that was there that day had a good time, and she made it happen. She had faith in herself, and she didn't want to disappoint you. So I don't think she'll disappoint you again.
Thank you, Ms. Farley.
Sue Kinnist.
I'm Sue Kinnist, and I'm also from Bothell. I'm at the tail end of a cold, so I sound a little raspy. But I, too, met Gall Cully. And we're going to tell stories about her. But first, when I first came to Bothell in the 70s, I was energetic, full of energy, quite naive, unlike Gall. I was very naive, but I thought I could do just about anything historically. So I set out to do all kinds of things in the city of Bothell. And some of the projects were books that were written and a mural project in the city of Bothell. So when Gall came to me a couple of years ago and said, I want to revive the sleigh races, and I go, great idea, but just like Mary, I said, don't bite off more than you can chew. Just keep it small, and she wasn't having much luck with Bothell and the sleigh races, but Kenmore came to her defense, or at least supported her, and it turned out to be just a wonderful event. I encouraged her, I pushed her, I supported her, and it was well worth doing all those things. She is absolutely determined, dedicated, and again has amounts of energy. And what a fantastic job she's done. This doesn't just happen in one community, it spreads to all other communities. I've attended many related sleigh race programs in Redmond, Woodinville, and Bothell. So it's spreading all over the place. So this project with Gall Cully involved in it, I totally support, and I can't see how you could go wrong.
Thank you, Ms. Kendence.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Hayashi.
Hi, I'm Sarah Hayashi at 14615 81st Avenue Northeast in Kenmore, our great city of Kenmore. I'm also here on behalf of the mural proposal from Gall Cully and Stacy Admin. I'm kind of butting my way into that project because I like hanging out with them. However, I'm here addressing you on behalf of their project, but also because I have my background is in public art back in Minnesota. I worked for Forecast Public Art Works, which is basically equivalent to Forecast, For Culture here in Seattle. I ran or managed grant and R&D for emerging artists throughout the whole state, as well as a lot of public art projects around the state of Minnesota. At any rate, so that's my credentials. If you were at the event on Saturday, thank you, Rob, and everybody. I am also self-proclaimed as the fundraising campaign manager for the mural. It's going in three, well, at any rate, that's their, okay. So what I am actually here to talk about is funding for this mural. My goal is to raise $10,000. That is from businesses and from the people. That's just 1/3 of covering the cost for this mural. However, that times 3 is not even remotely close to what is a valid mural at this scale. Not only costs, but also is valued at. I know that the city currently has a call out to artists for a outdoor a piece of work that will go into Kenmore Village, and there is a very, very large amount of money that is on the table for that possibly can be used. A mural at this large scale, even though we're using paint, still takes the same amount of research, resources, a life of study to complete. There's not a lot of difference between this large-scale mural and this ceiling sculpture that Susan Zokola did on the ceiling. A large-scale mural at this size recently received $70,000. My goal is to challenge the city, challenge many different avenues of finance, but also I'm challenging myself to raise upwards of $20,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hayashi.
There's no one else signed up.
Anybody else wishing to be heard? Thank you all for your comments, and we're looking forward to this event that BSE is holding, and I want to thank all of you people that spoke about the mural. We are going to be discussing that tonight and making a decision, so thank you all. So with that, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And I'll second. And any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion, the consent agenda stands approved. Next item on the agenda then is a public hearing. It's a public hearing to receive public testimony on ordinance number 15-0406, amending the Kenmore Municipal Code Title 18 to add a transit-oriented district overlay. Ms. Bent.
Thank you, Mayor. We're excited to be having this public hearing this evening and the potential of passing the ordinance this evening to get this TOD finally in place. We appreciate everybody's hard work and efforts and the public input into this process. I would like Laurie Anderson to just kind of give a quick overview for the benefit of the public tonight before you open the public hearing. Thank you.
Good evening. Tonight is, as Debbie mentioned, the public hearing and your consideration of an ordinance for the transit-oriented development. That's called TOD, District Overlay. As you know, the purpose of this overlay is to provide increased mixed-use residential density in areas close to transit along SR 522 as a support for future high-capacity transit along the corridor. The overlay would generally be located north of SR 522 and east of 73rd Avenue Northeast in areas planned for multifamily and commercial development. The overlay would be optional. A developer could choose whether to develop under the overlay or to use the existing zoning standards for their project. For development under the TOD, an increase in density would be allowed. The minimum density would be 60 dwelling units per acre, with up to 150 dwelling units per acre permissible, and parking requirements would be reduced. In exchange for this opportunity, a developer would need to provide affordable housing, not just at the moderate and low income levels, but if the densities were high enough at a very low income level. The affordable housing would have to serve those residents at that income level for a period of a minimum of 50 years. TOD developments would also have to comply with the city's strictest design standard and would have to provide improved pedestrian connectivity. So the ordinance has been prepared with the changes that you had requested at our last meeting. And with that, unless you have questions at this point, I would recommend that you open the public hearing.
Any questions? I do have one. You've got it broken down into the 3 affordability requirements.
Correct.
I was trying to find out where the exact wording was. No.
For the affordability definition?
Yeah.
It's on, let's see, unfortunately.
There was 3 of them. There was 3 different classifications. Right. If you could just give me a definition of the 3.
Yes, okay. So moderate income affordable housing. For rental housing, moderate income affordable housing is defined as affordable at 70%. Adjusted
70?
70.
Okay.
For ownership housing, it's at 80%. Okay. So it's different depending on whether it's rental or ownership. Low income is 50% of median for rental, and for ownership, it's 65%.
Okay.
And for very low income affordable housing, rental is at 35% of median income, and ownership is 50%.
Fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor.
I have a couple of questions. The way I read this, there's a 10% maximum number of units that have to be or can be affordable. It's limited to 10%. Yes. Why did we do that? We're 25% across the street.
I don't think it's limited to 10%. You could go above 10%, but that's the minimum that would be required.
Capped at 10%.
For the
Cap
requirement.
means a maximum to me.
Right, for the requirement. I mean, someone could choose to go above that if they
Well, the
wish
requirements
to.
are only 10%. Okay.
Right.
And secondly, on prohibited businesses, vehicle refueling station, does that include electric charging stations? That's a business and it's fuel.
Correct.
Does it include that?
Yes, it does.
So the parking garages cannot have electric charging stations?
If that were, we'd have to look at how that was structured. If it were the sole use, for example, if it were a standalone vehicle refueling station, that would not be permitted. If it were, for example, an accessory use that was supporting another part of a project, then that maybe could be permitted as an accessory.
I've been in lots of garages where, well, like the city of Bellevue City Hall has a couple of charging stations.
Right.
They are privately owned and privately funded. You put your credit card in, it's a business.
Right.
Not a city hall business, but a private business that's in there.
Yeah.
We could have them down here in our garage. We've got spaces for them. That is a private business.
That sounds
And
more like an accessory use to me than a standalone.
Oh, it does, okay.
Right.
So
Vehicle
that would be okay.
refueling station also includes gas stations, so it's really targeted.
Yeah, I
when
figured
it's
that's
the
what it was
primary
aimed at,
use.
is gas stations. But
Right. Correct.
But by
Good point.
the wording, it could be any kind of fuel.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And Mrs. Mint, just for clarification, the 25% across the street was a condition of sale of the property by the county?
It was a deed restriction.
Right.
It was also carried over into the zoning regulations as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Any further questions? So I would like to declare the public hearing open and to receive public testimony on, one second, let me get to this. Ordinance number 15-0406. Is there anybody wishing to testify?
There's no one signed up.
And once again, is there anybody wishing to be heard on ordinance number 1504-06, amending the Kenmore Municipal Code Title 18 to add a transit-oriented district overlay? One more time, anybody wishing to be heard on to receive testimony on ordinance number 150406? Seeing nobody come forward, the public hearing is closed. Next item on the agenda is to adopt ordinance 15-0406, amending Kenmore Municipal Code Title 18 to add a transit-oriented district overlay. If there are no further questions for Mrs. Bent or Mrs. Anderson, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 15-0406. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. So there's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 15-0406, amending Kenmore Municipal Code Title 18 to add a transit-oriented district overlay. Any questions? Deputy Mayor.
I'm sorry, but I got to go back to the 10% or the tier 3 example. The first few units are at the 70% level, and then the next tier and so on. And as the more affordable units that the development puts in, the greater the affordability of the added units, which then discourages anybody to put in any more than they really have to. Because it's just kind of like if you're in a 90% tax bracket, and if you earn another $100,000, you're going to pay $90,000 of it to the government. You're discouraged from earning that other $100,000. And the final 3 units are required to be very low-income affordable housing units. In summary, the development, at any rate, those last 3 units,
there's a disincentive to adding more of those, because every one you add after that is going to be the very low income, which means you got to subsidize it all the more out of your profits. Is this what we intended?
So the requirement, and I may ask Arthur Sullivan to speak to this as well.
Arthur's back there.
Is he waving his hand?
He is up and ready to address that.
I think to answer at least part of your question, if a person were to develop to the maximum density and they chose to provide more affordable units, they certainly could do that, but it wouldn't have to only be at the very low income
Okay,
level.
I'm reading this wrong then. Maybe, I guess.
You're reading
Arthur.
Arthur Sullivan.
Yeah.
It's on.
Okay. Program Manager of Arch. You are correct, but you're also, in terms of there's a cap at 10% that's triggered by the land use requirements. And we are looking. Okay, there we go.
That's better.
Thank you. I thought.
Yeah, he speaks loud anyway.
Yes, he does speak loud.
So you're right, it's a cap at 10%. Now, and you had two parts to your questions. The first part is, are we capping it at 10%, and if so, why?
That's a requirement, was capped at 10%.
Correct.
There's no higher than 10% requirement.
Correct.
But
And
if
the
somebody
reason
wanted to add more, at what tier would those added units be?
So what we're saying is that as we set it up, you can get to the full maximum allowed density, and you would be capped at 10%. And the logic there was, when we worked with developers a number of years ago, is what we have found is over time, they worry as much about how many units are capped as a percentage of the project as much as the affordability level. And so what we did is most cities will keep going from 10%, maybe to 15 or 20, but they stay at 70% of median income or whatever threshold they use. Here, what we chose to do, because of that input from the development community, is to say, okay, we'll never go above 10%, but be given conversations with the community group that worked on this, let's try to get some of our units at 50%, and then at your meeting last week or last month, down to even lower levels of need. So what we did is said, instead of increasing the percentage of units that are affordable, we instead are translating it to those 10% become more affordable. So that's for the reason for the 10% is because builders then have 90% of their units, no matter what, unrestricted open market value, and that can be very important to them. Now, to the second part, you're saying there's lack of motivation to do that higher end because you have to do them at 35% of median, where the original ones were at 70 or the second tier at 50. However, we are giving many more bonus units for every one of those units at 35, where you had to give, for every 3, you had to do one at 70% of median. Here it's 1 to 10. And it's based on looking at the math of how much we're asking the rents to be reduced below market. And so there is more bonus associated for each of those units than there were for the 70%. So each of your task force gave us a daunting task 5 years ago. And so what we did is we came up with formulas that looked at how much you were asking for each affordability level. And then the bonuses that you are giving are different for each level. So you're not asking a builder to give more for the 35% units because he is giving more for that unit, but you are giving more back to him for providing that unit.
So there is a reward.
Correct.
But I'm still confused. You said that 10% was a cap on the requirement, not a cap on the number of affordable units.
Right.
The way you're saying, you were referring to the number of affordable units was capped at 10%.
Under the land use requirements, and you can get to the full bonus. So some builder walked in.
A developer could provide more if he so wanted to.
Correct, through other means, but what we're saying is the land use tool is not going to ever trigger more than a 10% requirement. If a builder comes in with other tools he wants to use, that can be a different conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Councilmember Curtis.
Just to comment, we've been waiting a long time for this. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's been a long wait. Okay, if there are no further questions, there is a motion on the table to adopt ordinance number 15-0406 to amend Kenmore Municipal Code Title 18 to add a transit-oriented district overlay. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Herbig?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Van Ness,
Yes.
Mayor Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis,
Yes.
Councilmember Danuski,
Yes.
Councilmember Sperry,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
7-0.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Long time coming. Finally.
You feel like we need a drum roll or something? I mean, that
Something,
was a
yeah.
lot. That was years. And
That was
years.
years. That was years. It was indeed. All right. Next item on the agenda is to approve amendment number 1, contract number 15-C1445 with Langton Spieth for Sound Transit 3 advocacy. Mr. Carlinzy.
Thank you, Your Honor and City Council. My name is Rob Carlinzy, City Manager, and up here at the table with me is Betty Spieth and Sarah Langton with Langton Spieth, a consulting firm we've been using to help us with the Sound Transit 3 process. And as you know, the Sound Transit Board has begun looking at potential transit projects that could be included on a potential ballot measure in 2016, and this ballot measure is known as Sound Transit 3. And it's a very complicated process and political process to be heard and be noticed by the Sound Transit Board in order to get our priorities on the Sound Transit 3 list. And as you know, you as a City Council have adopted 3 priorities for the City of Kenmore to hopefully be included on the Sound Transit ballot measure list. And those are bus rapid transit on Northeast 145th Street, bus rapid transit, and ultimately light rail on State Route 522 going through Kenmore, and structured parking along the Bothell Way corridor, whether it's Bothell, Kenmore, or Lake Forest Park, or a combination thereof. So given the magnitude of these priorities and the long-term effect they can have on our quality of life and on our residents, we think it's important to invest some resources into making sure that the Sound Transit Board and their staff hear us loud and clear, and that we are very carefully considered. So we have enlisted the help and the resources of Langton Spieth, and we began using their resources last June. And they've been very effective in helping us be heard, and they've also been very effective in helping us rally the community. And in part because of their efforts, a citizen coalition known as 522 Transit Now has formed. And this coalition has definitely received the support and help of the city and also of Langton Spieth's services. Langton Spieth has done a great job in many respects, not just rolling up their sleeves and helping us with the grassroots effort, but also with giving us some political advice and expertise. They also have some really good contacts with people in the region to help us get noticed and be heard. And so as a result of their efforts and the efforts of the community, we were able to get added to the ST3 candidate list at the Sound Transit Board meeting at the end of August. So that was definitely a victory. But the hard work is now just beginning, because that list that we got on is actually the candidate list, meaning it's too much. The list that they have is they can't afford it all, and they're going to start the whittling down or the cutting process now. And this is where we really need to roll up our sleeves and work hard to make sure our projects stay on the list. So I'm recommending that Langton Spieth services are needed even more than ever at this point. And as a result, I'm recommending a contract amendment. So far, since June, I've approved a contract for $21,000 for their services. To get through May of next year, we'll need an additional $32,000. The total amount coming to $53,500. I'm recommending we move forward with this because in the grand scheme of things, this expense could prove well worth it if we are indeed added to and stay on the list and get these projects for our citizens in Kenmore. I do have Langton Spieth up here. They can talk a little bit about their firm, and they can also answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Deputy Mayor?
What do you think our chances are?
Okay,
how successful do you think you're going to be?
Well, we hope
going to be.
I hope that we help you achieve 100% success because you've got a fabulous staff and you've got a wonderful community and they're super engaged. Mayor Baker's been helping, and we are going to have a sort of full coalition kickoff meeting at the end of this month. We got over 400 people to sign a petition saying they support these projects, so there's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. And Kenmore at the Sound Transit Board level is coming off as sort of behaving really well and being really positive and being part of the solution and doing all the right things. So I think we're going to get there, but we have to stay at it.
Let me introduce us in case some of you don't know the Langton. Who's the Langton and who's the
I'm
Spieth?
the Langton.
She's Sarah Langton. I'm Betty Spieth. Just a quick response to your question. I think your projects are really well founded. They are in line with what Sound Transit is looking for in this upcoming package. But as the city manager says, there are a lot of projects that meet on the surface the requirements of, just what it takes to get into the ST3 package that we will all see on the ballot in November. And so now it's a matter of anything that makes it into that package will have to be rigorously analyzed to make sure it is delivering on transit ridership. And then it will also have to demonstrate that it can help make that package pass at the ballot. So that's our challenge ahead. The projects, we believe are absolutely the ones that the region needs, and that this area has not been well served to date. And so this is our round. So we firmly believe that it's possible, and we'll help make that happen.
Councilmember Herbig.
I dragged my daughter to a Sound Transit Board meeting where you guys were doing your work, and it was really exciting to see just how excited and how organized our citizens were, and I really appreciate the work you guys are doing, and I support this contract amendment.
Thank you, and thank you for being there. We needed everyone in yellow shirts that we could get.
Any other questions? If there are no further questions, the chair would entertain a motion to adopt amendment number 1 to contract number 15-C1445 with Langton and Spieth for Sound Transit 3 advocacy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing no. Councilmember Sperry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that you really brought us from 0 to 60 on this, and we really appreciate the work so far. And I really consider it a minor miracle that we got in, and it doesn't make any sense to quit now. I really want to have that be our city and the needs of the citizens represented in the ballot package. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sperry?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbig?
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Van Ness?
Yes.
Councilmember Danuski?
Yes.
7-0.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're looking forward to all the work and the help that you guys provide us, I'll tell you. Thank you. Next item on the agenda then is St. Vincent de Paul wall mural proposal. Mr. Carlinzy and Brennan Jernigan.
Your Honor, if I may, if I could briefly introduce this and then turn this over to Brennan Jernigan, our graduate intern. So we have a wonderful community. I don't need to tell you that. We have great people in our community who Peter Kageyama calls co-creators who make things happen. And these co-creators in particular, using another term of Peter Kageyama's, make love notes for our community. And you may recall the event that we had for the Love of Kenmore back, I believe it was in April, and there was a lot of energy and community enthusiasm around really supporting and bringing out the talents of our co-creators that we have in the community. And we have a lot of them, and we have a lot of smart and talented ones, and help them generate those love notes. Well, one of our co-workers, Samantha Loyak, was also energized by this, and she came up with this idea for a mural. And murals are common. We actually have one, I think, in our city, sort of, and other neighboring cities have them. So it's not a new idea or anything, but it's an idea that took seed and took root and has really developed into something pretty neat. And we have kind of a really community-based idea and proposal that has kind of grown organically here. And we've invited these citizens with the support of Brennan Jernigan, who's in the city manager's office with me, to come forward and present this community-based idea that they have. So with that, I will turn it over to Brennan Jernigan.
Thank you, Rob. There we go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Very excited to be here with these artists and with a representative from St. Vincent de Paul to present this proposal for a wall mural at the thrift store. If I could get the screen on here, that would be great. Thank you. All right, so I'm just going to run through this really fast because Rob really explained it very well. So this came out of the Love of Kenmore event, an idea to look at this thrift store wall. I have a couple photos here for you to see. It's this very long wall along 73rd Avenue Northeast, a wall where often you can get backed up sitting, looking at the wall. I've did that the other day, made a mistake of trying to drive there and got caught at a few lights. So it's a very highly visible wall. There can be foot traffic along the sidewalk. There's no vegetation or anything to get in the way of viewing from pedestrian or automobile traffic. So it seems just this place that's ripe for a community love note, as Rob mentioned. And so we as a city staff partnered with St. Vincent de Paul of Seattle, King County, and tonight we have Jim McFarland, who works in that office with us here tonight, and they got on board. We're very excited about the prospect of doing something here at one of their thrift stores that's very important to their operations. So then we decided to, rather than just go about this just one-sided from us, we decided to go out to the community and get feedback, and we did a SurveyMonkey survey that we sent out to get ideas for what people thought the story of Kenmore might look like on a wall. And you'll notice in the proposal packet that there are those survey results summarized there. So in this process, as we were getting community feedback, there were two Kenmore artists, one a current resident and one a former resident, that came forward with an idea an approach for painting this mural, for designing it. And this approach involved gathering community support. So it's not just the city and St. Vincent de Paul doing this, but it's three groups together: the city, St. Vincent de Paul, and the community coming together. So I'm going to just briefly introduce them. I think you know them well, but I'll introduce them and then turn the time over to them to present this proposal. So, to my left, immediate left, we have Amberly Gall-Coley. She is a former resident of Kenmore, and she is an art integration specialist whose interests lie around individual, societal, and global identity that is linked to place. An important part of her work is to create multicultural, inclusive community engagement events in collaboration with municipalities, local businesses, and nonprofits whose purpose is to deepen a person's relationship to the place they live. And then to Amberly's left, we have Stacy Adman, Kenmore local, who received an associate's degree from Cody College in Missouri and a BFA in painting from the University of Washington with special interest in egg tempera painting. After college, Stacy worked for a small jewelry studio in Seattle, but ultimately chose to focus on raising her two sons, Nick and Ben. In recent years, Stacy has enjoyed working to involve the community, especially children, in art. This has included teaching art to students in the local schools and working with groups of students to create permanent art projects for the playground at St. Edward State Park in Kenmore Junior High School. She was recently a board member for the Arts of Kenmore for several years and is on the Kenmore Art Show Committee. So with those introductions, I'm very honored to turn the time over to Amberly and Stacy to give their proposal for the mural.
Thank you, Brennan. Good evening, Council. It's very good to see you again and be in front of you. Just want to jump right into the vision. We want, our vision is to tell the history of Kenmore through imagery that resonates with the community in the form of an interactive educational mural about the cultural history of our city. That's not one of those traditional sepia-toned cameo thing. Actually educationally informed by not only our history of yesterday, but the living history now.
So that survey that the city put out online and at events in the summer was perfect for getting feedback from the community. So it just isn't us thinking about what do we think is appropriate. So strong feedback for the lake, which is kind of a no-brainer here, and the seaplanes that we see all the time, and obviously the heron. And there are images back here, sketches and studies that Gal and I have done, and just thinking about what we would do, that feel free to look at them later, just little things. But understand that those images that we've done already are not necessarily anything that you will see on the mural. That's just us thinking and sketching and studying. So the timeline here is an abbreviated version of what you got in our packet. And these are kind of the important highlights of what we will be looking for in the future. Most important things going forward is, with your approval, then we would start developing a scale model of the mural so we can start really getting to work on what images we would put up on that wall. Then you or the Kenmore Arts Commission committee that has been formed in the past, or a combination, would need to approve anything before we would move on. And that would happen in January, is how we're looking at it. In February, after that has been agreed upon, then a banner would actually go up on the wall that would let the community know that something is happening. And then in the spring and the summer is when we would actually hit the wall and painting. And I know it's a huge wall, but Gal has amazing experience covering huge walls with murals, and has got me convinced that April through June, well, July, whatever, as weather permits, it'll be done. It'll be done this next year.
I just want to clarify that because this is a community-based event, that the committee that's going to decide on the final design is actually going to be created by St. Vincent de Paul and several members of the community. Just to clarify who that design committee is going to be.
Okay, so far, in talking about this project, it's kind of been Gall and I working with the city and with St. Vincent to come up with this idea. But going forward, there's a huge new partner in this, and that's going to be the community. And in our minds, the community partners would be the local heritage and historical societies, the local businesses, and all of the individuals in our community. So right now, Gall and I would especially like to acknowledge the Kenmore Heritage Society and the Bothell Historical Societies, because without all of the work that they've done over the years, we wouldn't have those images and the stories that they've preserved that we can move forward with. Mm-hmm. And we see ourselves as honoring those groups, but also kind of moving forward with their work, kind of in a new way, getting their work out there where our citizens will see it on a wall, in addition to being in the book about our history. Now, Gall and I have just started to meet with local businesses to ask for their support, and it's been an honor for me to be able to go meet with Plywood Supply and Kenmore Air, and pretty fun to see a little behind the scenes there. But and these businesses that have such deep roots historically in our community, but we also look forward to connecting with all the businesses that we can in our community, and whether that means getting donations from them for the project, or just supplies, or somehow they can help us in kind, or putting the can on their counter to take people's change. We're hoping to be able to connect with as many businesses as we can. And then involving and connecting our community members is really what this project is all about. And we hope that we will be presenting, when it's all said and done, a way for all passersby to learn more about our city and the history and how it is now. And that's very important to us. We want to create a shared sense of who we are with our community, which is why we need the input from everybody around that we can get it from. And we so not only do we want the community donations, hopefully, and funds, but also their ideas of what they think is important to be up on the mural. And that way everybody has a sense of ownership.
Now, at this time, we'd like to just have, I just want to say again how much we appreciate the enthusiasm of St. Vincent de Paul. And we'd like to just, again, reintroduce Jim McFarland. He would like to say a couple words about what it means to be a community member, and how he would like to share in that 1/3 pie that we're talking about.
Thank you, Gall. When Brennan first reached out to us, we were really excited about the idea. Excuse me, I came down with a little bit of a sore throat this morning, but we were very excited about the idea because it's a chance for us to give back, in a sense. The city of Kenmore and the people here are very important to our organization. We have 5 thrift stores in King County, and we're a 501c3. And we live and die really by thrift store sales. Well, the Kenmore store is our largest fundraiser within our system. We generate more dollars to go to programs to help people from the Kenmore store than any other store that we have in the county. We also get more donations from the citizens here than in any other store. And many of those wonderful donations are moved to other stores where they sell to help people in those communities as well. So when we sat down and talked to Brennan and Samantha about this, we went, this is really a logical thing for us to do, because we are a community-based organization. We're a 501c3. We've been around for 180 years, and we're managed really locally. Our international office has 6 staff members, and we're in 150 countries around the world. Our national office here in the U.S. has 12 staff members. Excuse me, whereas our organization has like 130 people that work here locally in the county. So this is a big project, but it's an important project, and I have 30 years of advertising experience in my resume. I worked for big international ad agencies for a long time, and I can't say that I've ever worked on a mural, but I've worked on a lot of other big canvas type projects. And so in developing this, one of the things that was extremely important to us was to have a creative team that really has what we would call the juice for the project. I mean, that's really what you say in advertising. If your art directors and your writers don't have the juice, yeah, I'm not really, things just don't work out so well. And I used to manage and have to nurture those folks in a lot of different kinds of settings. Well, when we first met with Gall and Stacy, I was like, they're on fire about this thing. And you got to have that. And if they're not on fire, and I know you've heard other people bring testimony to that or witness to that, well, I had the same experience with them. They're on fire about it, and that's a good thing. The other thing that we were concerned about was making sure that the community really is invested in this. We want this to be a destination where people drive by and go, this is our city, we're proud of this. And we want the same experience for us, because we're going to be here for a long time. We're not going anywhere based on how well the store performs. So those were really important items for us. As you can see from the responsibility list, our responsibilities are helping preserve, protect, and steward this beautiful piece of work for a long time, and that's what we want to do. So whatever we can do to help raise money, whatever we can do to promote the value of it, and to be a good community partner, we're committed to doing that. So thank you for having us here.
Before you change the slide, Brennan, I'd just like to say one last thing. Don Swanson called me late today, right before the meeting, and he has sent each of you an email that you will be able to view after the meeting, that upon approval of your contribution, that he will also be contributing significantly as a partner for this love note. Winston Churchill once said, the farther back you can look, the farther forward you're likely to see. Dear council members, tonight I come to you to propose a very special art project whose roots run deep through the community. With the assistance of accomplished artists Stacy Admin, Sarah Hayashi, and many other community members, I would like to create a living history mural to be located at the St. Vincent de Paul wall located on 73rd Avenue Northeast. This wall has the dimensions of 188 feet long by 12 feet tall. Here's how we've calculated the price. An average price of a mural, muralists go by square footage, is $35 a square foot. Because this is our home, our community, and we want to write a love note, you can see the reduced cost of $10 a square foot, in part because that one-third proposal that St. Vincent de Paul will be providing the structural support, the prepping of the wall, as well as the maintenance of the wall, and the city, if approved, would help with material cost and design fee. Yes. It is important that the city, St. Vincent de Paul, and the community be equal partners in the logistical, financial, and maintenance of this mural. This one-third ownership will ensure the mural's legacy for many years to come. I am asking you, the city of Kenmore, tonight to approve the budget that Stacy and I submitted to you several weeks ago. The budget includes a $3,500 design fee, $1,500 material fee, half of the cost of the banner that you'll split with St. Vincent de Paul that will be placed alongside of the wall, and in addition, $6,500 that will be matched dollar for every dollar that Stacy, myself, and Sarah Hayashi, as well as other community members, raise. The total cost of the city, as you see, is $11,850. Winston Churchill also said, "What is the use of living if it not be to strive for noble causes and to make the muddled world a better place for those who will live in it after we are gone?" Thank you for your consideration. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I think a few of us have already seen the letter from Don Swanson. So, yeah, you guys are certainly well on your way. Questions? Councilmember Sperry.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for your truly caring and you definitely have the energy to do this. And I also wanted to thank Mr. McFarland for your support and, being able to prepare the wall and do all that. I guess one of the really the only concern that I have is this is a lot of square footage. And I was comparing it to, it's actually bigger than my house. And I couldn't imagine painting every square foot of my house on the floor, although it could probably look better if I did. But anyway, so do you bring in some teams? I mean, is there a point in this actual, when you get to the point of actually, putting the paint on the wall and making it beautiful, as I'm sure you will, is it more than you two women? Oh, thank God.
That's a really good question. Currently down in Benicia, where I live, just north of San Francisco, I just finished a 120 square foot by 20 square foot tall mural in an integrated space in the historic sector. I've gotten commitments from both Sarah Hayashi and you all. I just want to acknowledge Megan Tanner. If you remember, she was my co-creator for the sleigh race. She is also an accomplished artist, and she has volunteered her services. This is, again, early in the process, and with your approval of the budget, there will be many more. But I'm kind of like a steam train.
We noticed.
And once the approval of the design happens, I have a lot of experience on scaling and delegating. And I've got a great team already of just 3 and collaborators that will get this executed. Really excited.
I'm so pleased to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Councilmember Curtis.
So I noticed there was a difference, the presentation that we saw up above and in our electronic packet, and it looks like it says match community donation dollar for dollar up to $10,000, and I think I saw $6,500 up on the board.
Right, and in the proposal it was it said $10,000 less the $3,500 for the design fee, and as I was putting together the presentation I was like, that's just confusing. So $6,500 is actually what the amount would be. So
thank you.
Councilmember Danuski.
So I think this is a great idea. I heard a lot of people at For the Love of Kenmore talking about the wall and the mural. So it's definitely something that people want. And both Gall and Stacy have demonstrated numerous times that they can get projects done and that they love Kenmore. So I think they're the right people to do this.
Deputy Mayor.
I'd like to echo the comments that have been made about Stacy and Gall. Stacy's been really active in the community for many, many years. I've seen her doing the chalk art for the street festivals and all sorts of things, and really a behind-the-scenes, get-her-done kind of a gal, and a real value to the community. Gall, I first met, it was, I think, December before the first sleigh race thing, and somehow she came to me. Not sure how she knew I was the only one on the council that knew we had a sleigh race here, but everybody else were newer to the Seattle area and Kenmore than I was. And I said to her at that time, I said, when do you want to do this? Sometime in the fall? And she said, no, we got to do it in April. This was just 3 months, 4 months away. And I said, you're going to put this thing together in 3-4 months? Sure, yeah. And off she went, and she pulled it together. And we had 500 people in this room. And it was the beginning of a revived history of the sleigh races that a lot of people in this town either never knew about or had forgotten. And it's a valuable part of our history. So I thank you for doing that. And when you left town for Alcatraz, she worked for the federal government for a while on Alcatraz, I guess. Maybe still does. Anyway, welcome back. I'm glad to see you here. The only question I have about this project, and we've got the visuals, it says that St. Vincent de Paul will be the caretaker of this, but there was a mural wall in Bothell that met the wrecking ball at one time. A building was torn down that this was on. And buildings change, and businesses move on to different facilities and so on. Will we have some kind of agreement that this wall will be preserved?
Yeah, we will.
A written agreement?
We'll have an agreement, yeah.
Okay.
Because we have no intention of leaving. I mean, even if particularly the way this area is growing, I'm not sure where we would go. We own all of our property now, which is a really good thing, and we're not leaving. And so we're discussing the nature of that, and you'll all be engaged with that also, as we will.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Well, thank you very much to both of you, and well, actually to all four of you for your work on this and what you're going to be putting together. I think it's very exciting, and I have no doubt that you can deliver, and it will be a success. I have a question on, and I've always wondered this about murals, and how do you deal with the vandalism part of it? Can you help me on that?
That's a good question. So my unconventional approach always is community ownership. The community owns 1/3. I'm going to, with the help of our co-creators here, we're going to raise over $15,000 in the community. It's a highly lit wall as well and very well traveled. If it were to be tagged, it will have an anti-graffiti coating on it, and St. Vincent de Paul has agreed to maintain that wall.
Great.
And if it were to hit a natural disaster and fall down, it's okay. It's all right. That's the great thing about murals. We can do it again.
So, and then that leads actually perfectly into my next question, which, does this have a life expectancy, or is it ongoing maintenance that goes in perpetuity?
That's a good question. So, Seattle has rain, but it doesn't have a lot of sun. Sun is what really does it. Again, St. Vincent de Paul is committed to making sure that the gutters are, you know, in proper maintenance, and things at the wall, if there was a water pipe behind it, it would be maintained. It should last a very long time. Yeah.
Great.
And my understanding is that the anti-graffiti coating may also have a UVA and B aspect to it.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Great, thank you. And then finally, I have, if Mr. McFarland wouldn't mind, if he could give me the 20-second elevator speech as far as what your money goes to. You talked about
sure,
the money
sure.
and what you do in the community. I really don't know where your funds go.
It's a great question. We were started formed by a college student in 1833 who wanted to help people after the French Revolution be able to restore their families and their lives. We have kept that mission alive for 183 years, and it's really very simple. We have a network of 56 locally based, neighborhood-based chapters of volunteers who go visit people in their homes when they cry or call our organization for help. We get 49,000 calls per year to our helpline. We refer those back out to our local chapters, and then we go do home visits. And our primary expenditure helps typically young women with kids get food and shelter to keep them off the streets. And it's done in $50, $100, $200, $300 increments. But it's amazing how $100 can keep somebody from going to the streets, where the cost of the taxpayers, from what HUD tells us, is anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 per person. So of our entire budget, 90% of every dollar goes into programs to help people. 10% stays in administration. And if you were to come to our office, our council office, and see the facilities, you would know that we don't put any money in our facilities. I mean, and we don't put much money into salaries. People like me and other people that work there, you've got to be into the mission if you want to do this kind of work. But we're not lavish spenders. We don't have a lot of resources. So that's really, it's that simple and that complicated, actually, in a way.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Any other questions? So I think City Manager is looking for direction here, and I think the Chair would entertain a motion to to allow the city manager to enter into an agreement as he saw fit for the St. Vincent de Paul wall mural.
So moved. Be happy.
Second that. Is that what direction you need, Mr. Carlinzy? Okay. So any further discussion? Councilmember Sperry.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to contribute to the project, and I see that blank wall with that lake view we all want. So you're going to bring the lake to people, and I'm sure there'll be a hydroplane or two on it.
Mayor Baker, could I please just say one last thing?
Yep.
I just want to honor Sam as well as part of our team. She's over there, but should be, in proximity closer to us. She did have the initial idea. I just want to honor her for that.
I think there's a number of us that are well aware of Sam and everything that she does around here, and we certainly thank you for it. All right, if there's no further comments, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Curtis?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbig?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Van Ness?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sperry?
Yes.
Councilmember Danuski? Yes. Mayor Baker?
Yes.
7-0.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to seeing you back here in January.
You can guarantee it.
Thank you.
From what I've seen of it, it's going to be a pretty exciting design, so I'm really looking forward to it. All right, next item on the agenda is to adopt resolution number 15-264, the 2016 fee schedule. Mr. Hampson.
Good evening, Council. And like you said, this is the adoption of the 2016 fee schedule, and I wanted to go over the proposed changes with you tonight. First off, I want to point out a huge error that was on the agenda bill, and it's bolded right in the middle of it. It says we are not proposing to increase the 2015 fees by the Consumer Price Index, and that is not true. We are actually proposing to increase some of the fees by the CPI, which I'll explain. So the first fee is the new regulatory business license for heavy manufacturing businesses, and we're recommending that the annual fee be $200. The second change would be remove the business licenses fee that were part of the regulatory business license that were eliminated. Number 3 is adjusting the permitting, review, and inspection fees by the Consumer Price Index of 1.1%, which would include the park impact fees, but not the transportation impact fees. We are going to do a separate analysis on the transportation fees and later sometime this year, early next year, and if there's a change, we'll address that through that ordinance. Number 4 is just adding a fee that we currently collect to our fee schedule. It's a state building code fee that we have to collect during building permit applications. And so we're just putting it into the fee resolution so it's more clear, so when people are trying to figure out what fees they know or remember to collect that fee. And the last recommended fee change is the annual use fee for communication facilities within the city's right-of-way. These are the cell phone antennas that get attached to our property within the right-of-way. With that, I'm open to any questions.
Do we have any questions? I've got the gavel now. Councilmember Sperry.
It's more of a curiosity than anything. The last edition, the annual use fee for communications facilities, I was just wondering what, within Kenmore right away, I was just wondering what led to that, if there's inspections involved or permitting or what was that about?
They actually get to use our property, and this isn't a new fee. A lot of other jurisdictions have this, and including King County. And King County currently is, as I understand it, accepting fees for some communication facilities within our city that were established before the Kenmore Incorporated. And so some cell phone facilities have been paying King County for the last 15 or 16 years. So this is just to basically put it into our code so we can collect that money that they're paying somebody else.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All the fees on these following pages here, I guess they've all been increased by 1.1%. Is that right?
That's
all
correct.
All the permitting fees?
All the permitting fees except for the transportation impact fees.
Have any been increased by more than that because of the costs?
No.
Okay. So it's all 1.1%?
Yes.
Okay. And this is a one-time thing at this point. It isn't, we aren't voting to increase it every year by the CPI.
No, this is just for this fee schedule. If there's any changes in the future, it's going to come back to you for a separate vote.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? The Chair will entertain a motion then to adopt resolution number 15-264, 2016 fee schedule. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And go ahead.
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Deputy Mayor Van Ness?
Yes.
Councilmember Sperry?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbig?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Danuski?
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis?
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 2015 Development Services Mid-Year Review. Mr. Hampson, I think Samantha's there too. Whoa, you're going to address us now.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Welcome.
My name is Samantha Loyak. I'm an assistant planner with Development Services, and this is Brian Hampson, Development Services Director. And this evening, I'm going to pull up a slideshow here just to supplement the mid-year report that you've already received as part of your packet. So this is Development Services at a glance. So we're first going to start with who are we? Just as a check-in. We know you know who we are, but just to show who our team is now. Brian?
So our team currently consists of these individuals that are listed here. They perform development reviews, inspections, things of that nature. So we currently have 6 full-time employees, 1 part-time limited-term employee, and a half-a-time employee as an administrative assistant. As mentioned in the mid-year report, the permit revenues are up roughly 29% compared to this time last year. The permit applications are up across the board. The permit revenues and applications exceeded the pre-recession period in 2007. So similarly, in 2007, the department had 7 full-time employees.
And you may also see a name on there, Jody Conyers, civil engineer. She's also a limited term employee. What we did is we did a little bit of juggling. We have Zach Richardson, who was typically doing development review, also a civil engineer. And we had some projects come online, capital projects that he wanted kind of a change of scenery and wanted to be able to work on those. So we moved him to those projects and are charging Zach to those projects, and we brought Jody Conyers to come in and temporarily backfill for the duration that Zach is working on those capital projects.
Thanks. So as I mentioned, the increased development and revenues are up compared to the 2007 numbers, and the bigger projects, they really require a lot of our dedication and our time, and so unfortunately with that there's been a little bit of lack in our review times and our level of services that we've have towards other projects. We're spending a lot of time on these Spencer Square, Spencer 68, and other projects of that nature. But inspection-wise, we currently have 1.5 inspectors, and to date they've been, first half of 15 performed almost 1,900 inspections, which is about 600 more than last year. The customer service, we still continue to receive positive feedback from the community based on what we do and how quickly we do it, even though we're not as quick as we would hope to continue to be. Actually, we would like to get a little faster, but I think Samantha's going to talk about that in a little bit.
What do our customers say? Customer feedback is something that we always want. We welcome, good or bad. We hope that it's good. But if it's bad, we know where we can improve. These quotes were taken from the surveys that we've received. We have electronic and paper copies of surveys, and these are from January until present. And this is what we're looking for to hear from our customers. Just taking one of them, it says, I walked in to check on the procedure for a permit, but I ended up finishing the complete application at the time of my visit. And that's really what we want to do. Coming to the permit counter as a homeowner can be intimidating, and you may have taken off time from work to do that. So when you're here, we really want to make sure that it's as easy as possible and just encourage you as a homeowner to be able to do these types of things yourself. And if you can't get it done when you're here at City Hall, we can tell you how to do it online or whatever is easiest for you. So this just shows our continued efforts towards excellent customer service. So development services, where are we going? So this is looking towards the future. And right now, the future of Kenmore's downtown is looking great with Spencer Square and the Link project, as well as continued interest in Lake Point. And as Brian said, these projects keep us very busy. So as we receive more applications for projects like this and other projects that are sparked from this type of development, we're going to update our contracted services so that as we receive more applications, we're able to still review all the single family applications and still maintain that level of efficiency and speed, which we are trying to right now, but times are definitely getting busier at the permit counter. We would also like to focus on beautification, public outreach, education, and fun. I've spent some of my time working on the mural project, which has been wonderful. And we want to do more things like that. We want people to know what development services is about. We want to expand our beautification program for code enforcement, so making Kenmore even more beautiful. And a continued focus on customer service, efficiency, shorter review times, and site visits. People really appreciate when you visit them at their home. They can come into the counter and they can describe something to you, and then when you go out to the site and actually see it for yourself, it just makes a world of difference. And we try to do that as much as possible when we can. And we'd like to continue that service. And we also want to improve citizen resources with a focus on technology. Our customers are telling us that they want more resources online. They want to be able to do things themselves without calling. And we certainly want those things also to be online. So more resources, handouts, and also an integrated online permit tracking system, which we are working on right now. And North Shore Emergency Management, Brian can speak more to that.
Before Brian speaks to that, back on the left side there about beautification, public outreach, education, and fun. I don't know if you've gotten an email recently from Samantha, but if you look down at the signature line, it says it all. She's scratched out planner as her title, and she's put Director of Fun.
Aww.
So, right.
Only on my fun emails.
I don't know, how do I always have to follow these up? But anyway, the North Shore Emergency Management Coalition is something that the city is forming with the City of Lake Forest Park, North Shore Fire District, and the North Shore Utility District. And that's going to sort of take the place of ESCA, which is dissolving at the end of the year and won't be able to perform any services for us after October 31st. They are fortunately putting together one last training event for us, and that's this Thursday. It's a VRC simulation that we'll be holding here at the City Hall and give an opportunity for the people who have been involved with the VRC to be able to practice running people through that program. So we're currently working with those 4 agencies and the city attorneys to form an ILA, and our plan is to have that ILA in place this time, or this year. The plan was November, early November sometime, but I don't know if we're going to be able to make that, but that's the plan. We have to have it in place before January 1st. With that, I think that's the end of the presentations, and we're open for any questions.
Questions? Deputy Mayor.
First, a comment. We've all wanted over the years to develop a reputation in the community, in the residential and business community, that counter there is a joy to work with. And I've talked to numerous businesses over the last few years, and they have nothing but good things to say about the way they've been treated. The most recent was Daddy's Donuts down here. Was so positive about the relationship that he had with the city. He did have problems with King County Public Health, but the city was great to work with, and he was very complimentary. That's really good to hear. I personally have felt a long time that the image that we want to portray when somebody comes to this counter for the first time is, hi, how can we help you succeed in Kenmore? And that kind of a positive attitude is coming through, and I appreciate it. You're doing a great job. Did have one question on, I guess it's the second page, no, page 1 of 12 here. The first point, although land use applications have slightly increased, up 11%, and that's a little more than slight to me, compared to last year, the revenues have decreased. I don't understand why. Can you explain it?
There are roughly 15 different types of land use applications. Some are more costly than others. And so what's probably happened is you're seeing more of the less expensive land use applications being applied for and processed and not bringing in as much revenue.
Okay.
And remember, that's just the land use side. So building permits and inspection fees are up significantly.
Yeah, we separated these into 3 different components. One is the land use section, the building permits, and then also the engineering, grading, and clearing.
And if I also can just interject something here, Brian's a great advocate for his department and making sure that he has the resources he needs to do his job and maintain a good level of customer service. He has been bringing in temporary part-time staff to help with these increased workloads. I've been hesitant to add a permanent, a regular full-time position because I still have scars from 2008 and 2009. And I really don't know when the economy is going to crash again. But that said, Brian continues to make a good point about staffing resources. We just lost a temporary employee named Rebecca. What was her last name?
Coleman.
Rebecca Coleman. To the city of Newcastle because they could offer her a full-time regular job. And Brian, the work's still there. He's not sure how he's going to fill that gap left by Rebecca. So we're struggling with issues like that. So I'm not proposing anything at this time. I'm just letting you know what we're struggling with.
Any further questions? Councilmember Curtis?
Sort of related, but sort of unrelated. Brian mentioned to me that he might go back to Bothell so he could have a vacation. Just a joke, I'm pretty sure. He's having fun changing our city.
Any others? So, Ms. Director of Fund, thank you for your first appearance in front of us. We really enjoy working with you, so thank you very much.
Thank
you did
you.
a great job.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is authorize city manager execute contract number 15-C 1462 for Town Green construction and contract number 15-C 1475 for Town Green inspection services. Mr. Carlinzy.
Thank you, Your Honor, and members of the City Council. At the last City Council meeting on the consent agenda, you authorized the city manager to enter into a contract for Town Green and community building construction services not to exceed $2.8 million. That was an optimistic council bill. The range we gave potential bidders was, I believe, 2.3 to 2.8 million. And what we wanted to do is if the bids came in under 2.8 million, we wanted to be able to execute that contract quickly. The bids actually hadn't come in or came in right about that time, so we had prepared the council bill before the bids came in. But we optimistically were thinking, okay, if they come in at 2.8 or less, then we can quickly execute the contract. That did not happen as optimistically planned. The bids came in higher and higher than budget, unfortunately. We received 4 sealed bids, all from good contractors. Those bids are listed in your council bill. Our budget was $2.9 million for construction, with a $293,000 contingency. That's 10%, for a total of $3.227 million. That was our budget. The low bidder, which is Skyward Construction out of Vancouver, Washington, their bid, not including contingency, is $3.266 million. So just their bid alone without contingency exceeded our full budget with contingency. I want to point out that we had one additive alternate in the bid package. And an additive alternate is an extra item that they bid on distinctly that we can choose to pay for or not. The rest of the bid is a lump sum bid. But the additive alternate we had on there was for a green roof on the community building. And that additive alternate came in at $27,375. And that is included in the $3.266 million. So tonight, one of the things I need direction from you on is whether you want to go forward with the green roof or not. Please consider that the green roof has more than just a one-time cost. It has an ongoing cost as well. Right now, for our green roof at City Hall, we pay about $3,000 a year for maintenance. This green roof, just eyeballing it, is about a third the size of the City Hall green roof, so you can probably estimate $1,000 to $1,500 a year maintenance for that green roof. So I need direction from you on that tonight. If you want to move forward with this low bid, what I'm recommending is that we take the bid of $3.266 million and then allow for a 5% contingency as opposed to the 10% contingency that we had assumed in the budget. Allow for a 5% contingency of $163,000, bringing it to a total of $3.429 million. The difference between that low bid with the 5% contingency and the budget is about $203,000. If you want to move forward with that increased amount of $203,000 for the total project, there's a couple of sources that you can access. There is the general fund, which I've been meeting with our finance director. The general fund, for a variety of reasons, is coming in better than expected so far year to date. That has to do with improved sales tax, development services fees, and other revenues. On the revenue side, it's doing better, and it's also we're holding under expected expenditures on the expenditure side. So it appears that there is $203,000 available in the general fund. Another source of funding you can go to is the Park Impact Fee Fund. That fund as well is coming in significantly better than expected, and with our finance director's updated revenue projection, we're showing that the Park Impact Fee Fund does not fall below $500,000 fund balance through 2020. You don't need to make a decision on which fund to choose from tonight to fund it. We can come to you a little bit later this year and have you make that decision during our budget amendment. I think what's important for you to know is that if you want to award this bid, I believe as city manager there are funds available. And again, those two sources I would recommend are either the general fund or the park impact fee fund. Also, something for you to vote on tonight on the same agenda bill is an agreement for architectural inspection services. And that would be a contract where we would have a consultant really babysit the project. Very closely make sure that the contractor is doing what the bid documents say they're supposed to do, and make sure they're not cutting corners, trying to minimize change orders, things like that. That agreement before you tonight is for $114,000 through the duration of the contract. It could be up to about 10 months worth of work. One thing we're trying to do to save money on the project is have in-house project management. And luckily we have a couple of my coworkers that have been willing to step forward and assist with that. It also has to do with the timing of some of the projects they're working on. We think that they have some capacity to help us with this project. And that's John Vicente, who is our Sammamish River Bridge project engineer, and he's in the back row. Team player, I should say. Thank you, John. And also Zach Richardson, another project engineer we have, who I was talking about earlier, is also available to assist. Their involvement is going to help us with the on the project management cost side. They're very experienced engineers, especially John. John has managed much bigger projects than this. He's managed sections of Aurora and Shoreline and other big projects. But we do need that architectural side of the equation, so that's why we have that consultant services contract for you also to approve tonight. So those are the two pieces of guidance I need and direction I need from you tonight.
Questions? Councilman Smith?
I have a question on the green roof. Does it is there a difference in the depreciation of the roof, whether it's the green roof or not a green roof?
You say what did you, appreciation?
Depreciation. I'm just curious. Do you have to replace the roof sooner, or I mean, I understand the annual maintenance. I was just wondering if there's any other costs there that are.
I'm not experienced enough with green roofs to give you that answer. I do know that the roof is being constructed with the ability to take on a green roof. So the membrane and the structure is going to be there. So it's the extra materials and stuff are already in place. Okay. But I don't know what it does to the decay rate of the roof in particular.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any thought for lead? Oh, Councilmember Danuski.
Are we going to be able to see the green roof from the street, 68th?
That's what I'm told. So it'll be, the green roof will just be a portion of the overall roof. And you've probably seen pictures earlier of how the roof will look. It'll be that back, that would be the northeast square corner of the roof. And so it'll be kind of close to the 68th Street sidewalk. And my understanding, and Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, is that as you're coming down 68th, walking down 68th from the north heading south, you should be able to catch a glimpse of that green roof.
David.
Councilmember Sperry.
Oh, thank you. I had a really hard time, visualizing the green roof portion of the roof, and so I actually went and looked up back on the fly-through the architect did, and I thought it was actually really cool. It really gave, it's a square portion of the roof. There's the part that's kind of got the airplane-looking part, and this is sort of a lower square, and I thought it did two things. One is it kind of it, you know, besides the water quality and the environmental aspect of it, it kind of artistically it sort of did a representation of the town square or the town green. It kind of created that on the roof. And then the other thing we need to think about is all those people looking down on that. So it gives you some green space, some extra thing that's, you know, kind of maybe almost like a lawn. Obviously it's not, but so I think it's kind of cool. I think it's worth it to do it.
Deputy Mayor?
The last comments about the size of the portion of the roof that would be green kind of troubles me. If it's a quarter to a third of the roof, you know, how much environmental influence does it have? Is it a token effort at becoming a green building? Does this get us to any LEED certification level?
No. No, I'd call it an architectural feature just as much as anything, because the main part of the roof, and I apologize for not having a picture, but I think you've all seen the pictures before. The main part of the roof is shaped kind of like a paper airplane, and kind of in the same flight path direction that the seaplanes come in when they're coming around the top of City Hall. And so if you can kind of picture that paper airplane look, but then kind of on the tail, back end of the paper airplane is where the green roof would be. Yeah. So yes, it would be an environmentally friendly thing to do, and it would help with carbon emissions and also impervious surface and all that. But it would be just as much an architectural feature, I think.
And I would imagine what needs to be done to be a green roof is the structural integrity of the roof has to be beefed up to handle the weight of all the soil and moisture that's in the soil.
And that's already in there.
So we're already paying for that?
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess, given the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, the Spencer Square building is going for LEED certification?
Yes, that is correct.
We are LEED certified, and since we're going with the green roof, and since the building is so much glass, is there any reason that we're not considering LEED for that one?
For the community building?
Yes.
It was a cost decision. We were pretty tight on the budget to begin with.
Any thought on how much additional?
To get it to LEED?
Get it to LEED?
I don't remember those numbers. It's been a few months, but we'd have to do some significant redesign at this point if we were trying to get it to LEED.
Okay. Because I was saying it was just a small budget increase, since we're doing a budget increase anyway, to keep with what we've been doing everywhere else. But if it's going to mean a redesign, then never mind. Councilmember Curtis.
So I'm inclined to not do the green roof. We're already increasing the budget by $200,000, and as I remember, we've already increased the estimates on this building several $100,000 compared to what we originally thought it might be a year back whenever we were originally thinking about it. So I think there's value in the building, there's value in the whole project, but you know, saving $27,000 seems important to me, instead of just always saying yes, yes, yes.
And if I can also point out that you can choose to add the green roof later if you want. Like I said, a lot of the things in place, including structure, are being built now so that you can add it later. Will it cost $27,000 if you do it later? I don't know.
Let moss grow on it.
Councilmember Herbig.
Are there any cost savings associated with decreased air conditioning or anything else?
You know, I don't know a whole lot about green roofs, but I'm told that they are supposed to provide that extra shade in the summer and insulation in the winter. But a lot of it is about soaking up rainwater and reducing storm runoff.
All right. So the chair then will entertain a motion to authorize city manager to execute contract number 15-C1462 for the town green construction, and contract number 15-C1475 for the town green inspection services. And my understanding, this contract is including the green roof. That's
if the council so chooses.
So if you want to pull the green roof, we need an amendment.
I would like to make an amendment to not fund the green roof.
And I'll second that for discussion.
Okay, Debbie Bent, I believe, has that adjusted number with minus the 27,375, the adjusted total. Oh, sorry. Here, I can run it on my calculator really quick.
Mayor, was the main motion seconded or?
The main motion was seconded.
Moved and seconded? Who did that?
Was it moved and seconded?
I don't think so.
I don't think it was. I think we got an amendment first.
You seconded it.
Yeah, but we got, did I? Yes.
No,
you seconded
that was the amendment.
I seconded the amendment. But
Yeah.
we're talking about the main motion.
Didn't do it at all.
No, there was no main motion.
I'm going to do it this way. 3, 2.
So we can't have an amendment yet
Yes, you can.
What are you
before the main
amending?
motion?
Well, no, you're right. There's got to be a second. There's got to be a first motion before you can amend this motion.
First motion and a second.
Yeah, that's right. Good catch.
Point of order. Throw out what we just did.
No, you can't throw it out. But we can do.
No, it is out of order. His amendment was
We
out
can
of order.
we can do the motion. You want to make a motion to approve?
I'll move we approve.
And I'll second that. Okay, now you can do yours.
So make a motion to pull the green roof from the cost.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, that's different.
Now you're in order.
So the amendment, the first time was to approve everything without the green roof.
No.
This amendment that you just said was just to pull the green roof.
That's right.
So which one are we?
Double
We
negative.
are doing the second one, which is the amendment of the main motion to approve the contracts, and the
Contract included the green.
included the green roof, and now we are doing the amendment to pull the green roof.
Okay.
And I do have the number now.
Councilmember Sperry, 1 second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was thinking maybe we should have just said thumbs up or thumbs down on the green roof, but that's another story. What I heard Councilmember Danuski say was that the original motion was to move forward without the green roof, but my understanding is it would be as it's written with the money, with the amount included, so I just want clarification.
Right, but that wouldn't have been an amendment, and we was making an amendment to pull the green roof, so therefore we had to have the main motion first to approve the two, and then the amendment to pull the green roof.
I get that. I just want to make sure we are all on the same page.
Right, that's
Thank
good.
you.
We need to be all on the same page. So, number.
The new total minus the green roof is $3,402,523.56.
Really? What? Question?
I have a question too, Mayor.
Okay, let's go with Councilmember Smith.
So, just from this says this, regardless of whether we approve the green roof or not. What I am curious about though is if the original bid included the infrastructure design for a green roof, is it worth, for sake of this discussion, to know if there is a relatively, I don't want to use the word simple, but I don't know what else to say, simple reconfiguration that could be done that could save significant dollars if we are not adding the weight of a green roof?
You know, that's an interesting question. I hadn't thought of that. So if you gave me direction tonight that you don't ever plan on doing a green roof, then we could ask the architect about making some modifications to reduce the beefiness of the structure and all that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just a small little, let me put it this way: if you can just have the verbal discussion with them, just to find out, is this something that's worth? Are there significant dollars here? I don't know if they got if it's the difference between a big I-beam, steel I-beam, or if it's the middle difference of adding a little glulam wood.
Sure.
I don't know, and maybe those things make a difference.
Or is there a significant amount of money involved in design change at this point?
Right, absolutely. I wouldn't want to spend thousands on design changes, but I don't know that I don't have enough information to know if that's relevant.
I could ask the question and come back to you. We do have some time when it comes to answering a question like that. I could probably come back to you at the end of this month.
It'd be beneficial for me.
Deputy Mayor.
I'll pass. I don't know how we got up to the 3,400 if their bid was 3.2 million.
So if you look at it, if you look at your council bill,
sales tax and contingencies.
that's correct.
In it? Okay.
That's correct.
Councilmember Herbig.
Do we have time at this late date to even consider a redesign to take out the green roof if we wanted to? I mean, realistically,
I'll ask, but the contractor's not expected to go vertical in the near future. It'll probably be several months away. And so there probably is time for the architect to adjust the design, give it to the contractor, and ask the contractor what the change order would be. So we would only get, at this point, it would be a deductive change order. And in lump sum bids like this, you don't usually get the full value of the change order. It's usually pennies on the dollar. So I'd like to have that discussion with the architect and get their thoughts on it.
So wouldn't it be, considering the motions on the table, considering the questions that need to be answered, would it be better to postpone action on this motion until we get a couple of questions answered? Or do we need movement on one to authorize you to move ahead on some part of it?
So the question being the green roof?
Yes. I mean, I think Councilmember Smith has had some questions, certainly. Councilmember Curtis has got an amendment on the table. And I, for one, would vote one way if it wasn't going to cost us hardly anything, and I'd vote another way if there's going to be really no advantage to it. It's Councilmember Sperry.
Thank you. Well, I do think that a lot of this could be solved by voting on the amendment first to see which direction we're going to go.
Okay.
The other thing is that I did notice when our city manager was talking about if there was a deductive change order, so taking away structure to, save costs potentially. What I'm seeing informally, I'd love maybe the city engineers could talk about that because it doesn't sound like you get your money back.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
So maybe some of this could be clarified is where I'm going with this.
Good evening. I was talking to John in the back and Debbie too, and our collective experience is that once you have to award the project as bid, you don't have to do the alternate because you wrote your contract language that you can do that or not do it. But the base bid, you have to award it as is, and then you can work with the contractor and try to negotiate a change. But it's my experience that you very rarely, as the city manager said, really get back a lot of money. You might get back something, but there's really no incentive for the contractor to give you a bunch of money back. And it is a negotiation.
And our architect may tell us that there isn't a whole lot of structural change to begin with, but we can find that out if you want us to.
All right. So I'm hearing then we should move ahead with the amendment and see where that goes. Any further questions on the motion in front of us right now, the amendment to pull the green roof? Any further discussion on that part? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll on the amendment to pull the green roof.
Councilmember Herbig?
No.
Deputy Mayor Van Ness?
A no vote is we don't want to pull the green roof. Is that
That's right?
Okay, no.
Mayor Baker?
No.
Councilmember Danuski?
No.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sperry?
No.
Councilmember Curtis?
Yes.
5-2.
All right. Back to the main motion then.
Finally found something we don't agree on.
To
Excuse me, it's 2-5. The motion fails.
2-5. Yeah. So then back to the motion in front of us to authorize the city manager to execute contract number 15-C 1462, and on the town green construction and contract number 15-C 1475 for the town green inspection services. Any further discussion on the main motion?
Question. You have one motion for two contracts?
Yeah, you want to break it into two? Should we break this into two?
Doesn't matter to me.
Can you do it? Can
City
you do them
attorney.
together?
It's up to you. It's up to the council. You can have it together if you wish.
Okay.
All right.
As I understand the motion.
Any objections? Do you want to do them as one? Okay, let's do them as one. Then first one will be execution of the authorized city manager to execute contract number 15-C 1462 for the town green construction.
I thought you were going to do them together.
Yeah, we're going
Pardon?
I thought you
No.
were going to do them together.
Yeah, do there's one.
Do them as one. I thought you wanted to do them. Okay.
Together.
All right. So we're back to the original motion of approving, authorizing the city manager to execute contract number 15-C 1462 for the town green construction and contract number 15-C 1475 for town green inspection services. If there's no further discussion, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Danuski?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Van Ness?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbig?
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Sperry?
Yes.
7-0.
All right. Staff report.
Just one thing. I'm on the fence as to whether to have one-on-ones this week. I don't have any pressing, burning issues. But as the week progresses, I usually start having issues I need to talk to you about. So what I'd like to do is have my management team meeting tomorrow morning and then get back to you on that tomorrow afternoon. That's all I have.
All right. Council, reports, comments, and initiatives. Let's start at the other end tonight. Councilmember Danuski.
All the way over here. I enjoyed going to the skate park dedication. It would have been lovely if you didn't need an arc to go there, but that's, I guess, how it is. So it was fun to see. A lot of people showed up anyway.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it. I had other things with my sailing group going, and we sailed in that rain. So.
Oh, we had a lake for you to sail in out there.
Okay. Well. Last Friday, we had our technology conference down at Mercer Island Community Center. There were probably better than 300 people there. It was a fantastic event. I was searching for things that I could apply here in Kenmore, and it was mainly just the overall. You heard my questions about the electric charging station in this. Are we making those illegal in the TOD? And I wouldn't think that would be wise, because we're going to see lots more electric cars in the future. And I think our planning, both in transportation and other things, we really need to be thinking about a lot of these advances in technology. Something as simple as where do Uber cars pick people up at curbside if everybody's parked along there and you got bus stops and lots of things like that. But it was mainly an informational thing about what we might expect in the future. Things have changed so rapidly since 8 years ago when the iPhone first came out. Nobody had smartphones 8 years ago. And think how our communications have changed and how this is affecting transportation and arranging rides and all that sort of thing. So I thought it was really an interesting discussion. It was kind of an introductory thing on all the possibilities. And we're already talking about a follow-up that zooms in more on future planning and things that we've got to do today that affect what we do 20 years from now. Things aren't going to be we aren't going to see flying cars, but we're going to see a lot of technology and how people get around. So 3 months ago, I didn't think we had the the wherewithal to pull this thing off, but it turned out to be a pretty good conference. It was recorded by TVW, so sometime this week it will be, I think, up. They told me it would be up this week on tvw.org, so you can watch it, and you can zoom to different sections of the agenda if you want to. And so for those that weren't able to go, or those that want to review what was said, a lot of people, or a number of people, left shortly after lunch, or around 2:30 or 3 or so. We had panel discussions between 3 and 4, which were really interesting. Individuals talking about how they were impacted by what had been said by different speakers throughout the day. And so that was particularly interesting, I thought. So you might want to watch that on TVW if you weren't able to stick around for the whole thing. But there were, I'd say, about 2/3 of the attendees still there at 4 o'clock. So there was a lot of interest in what was being said. So I'll let you know that's something that ETP started as something proactive, rather than sitting in a room once a month listening to people talk about buses and transportation plans, and being an information receiving body to a body that really took the initiative and did something proactive. And the other transportation group, Skateboard and Seashore, helped out financially, as did PSRC and King County, and I don't know, maybe I think we got something from Snohomish County too. But it was really turned into a real group regional effort. So just thought I'd let you know, those of you that didn't get to go, you can watch what parts of it you want on TVW sometime here in the next week or so.
Councilmember Hervey.
A couple of weeks ago, I represented the city at a discussion about affordable housing with all of the different arch cities. And you know how every year during budget we have this whole discussion about how much we're going to give arch, and it's this whole back and forth. The discussion was around how we as a group of suburban cities can find a dedicated source to better fund affordable housing on an ongoing basis, so that they can budget long term, and we can fill the need that we have in our communities. They have some interesting options, and I believe Arthur will be back presenting on those at some point between now and budget. Now in January, actually, because one of the proposals may have to get folded into our legislative agenda if we wanted to pursue it. So anyway, I don't want to jump in the weeds with it right now, but it was interesting, and it was great to be able to represent you guys and participate.
Councilmember Curtis.
So I was at the groundbreaking for the new Link building in Kenmore Village, and it was pretty exciting to have some Kenmore Evergreen Hospital people there, as well as people from Main Street. It was, even though it rained, we didn't care.
Councilmember Sperry.
Thank you very much. Well, lots going on. So in addition to the skateboard park, I got to go to an indoor event, and that was the 50th anniversary rededication of Inglemore High School. And the mayor did a great job of welcoming everybody, and I actually had another reason to go because my husband is a 1968 graduate of Inglemore High School. And I know that we value the high school, and we really consider it a huge asset to our community. But when you saw people from 1966 graduating class on parading in, and the entire gym filling up with graduates and former staff, and it just went on. And one of the key speakers was actually, or one of the main speakers was actually the original ASB president, who 50 years ago received the school, which they built for $3 million, which that doesn't happen anymore, from the district on behalf of the students. And that same person came back and spoke 50 years later. So it's just, the traditions are deep, they're positive traditions, and it was really an eye-opener to see the community around the school. Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, a couple of things. One is I did finally get to take light rail. So I got to see what our light rail system was about. I went to visit a friend down by Seward Park, and we jumped on it and to go someplace, and it was so cool. And I really, I mean, I've done it like most of you have in other cities and other countries, but it was just neat to finally see what's this thing we've been talking about in our own community, because I had not had an opportunity to do it, so I thought that was neat. I saw Councilmember Herbig at the City of Shoreline, the Northeast 145th presentation that they did on the corridor there, and so that was about a week and a half ago, and that was just packed. And it's going to be quite interesting to see where their council has some tough decisions as far as whether or not they're going to be expanding that right-of-way or not. And it'll be interesting to see how that falls in. Also enjoyed the Main Street opening in the rain, and that was fun. And then in the human interest side of things, and what a small world it is, when Brenda and I were coming out of the Pyrenees Mountains, we heard somebody speaking English, and so they caught our attention. We went to talk to her, and she was with a friend. Well, that person just happened to be the wife of Mark Kenmore, who did the presentation for PSE to us today. So the odds of something like that happening, and that you actually are able to connect these dots, that's a pretty small world. So anyway, that's about it. Thank you.
So something that Alan brought up in his thing on that transit forum that was held was I was in Sao Paulo over our little time out for a few days, and I actually got to take Uber.
Oh.
And so Uber is alive and well down there, and it was really kind of interesting because there's no money exchange hands, right? I mean, it's credit cards. You know what you're paying before, and that's the end of it. So it was really kind of nice. I spoke at Kenmore, as Lori mentioned, and it really struck home how much all of the graduates that have gone through Inglewood helped form Kenmore and what it is today. And another little interesting sidelight that I picked up from Mr. Ramsey, who was there because he was on one of the early school boards. Kenmore cost $7.5 million to build. The new high school they're building now up in Snohomish County is $145 million. So little change. One of the things that I've been talking with Shoreline about here recently, and it's got me very concerned, is Seattle. And Seattle has got some plans for 145th Street. They are wanting to put 145th Street on a diet. They're wanting to reduce it to 3 lanes instead of the 4 lanes, and they're talking about 2 HOV lanes and 2 regular car lanes. They are trying to discourage any type of bus rapid transit. From what I can tell, down 145th Street, what they're really pushing for is light rail station at 130th. And so they would like any bus rapid transit that we were to put in to go to the 130th station on a 2-lane road instead of trying to work on 145th. So I'm very, very concerned about that, and I'm hoping, given such a short time before they start culling projects, that we're able to at least make our voice heard, that if any one of those 2 options happen, I don't think there's any incentive from anybody from Monroe to Woodinville to Bothell to Kenmore to Lake Forest Park to really use light rail, because you can almost take the bus in just faster than going this circuitous route that they're trying to push for now. So I'm very concerned, and we're kind of watching that one. Groundbreaking at over there at Link and the Kenmore Village site. Very interesting, because Kelly Price and I were talking. We were talking about the transit-oriented overlay that we're doing, and that we just did tonight. And he was pretty excited about the fact that he could go up some stories and he could get in that density. And so he was actually talking to a couple of people about it, and so that could be very interesting. Skate park opening, yeah, it did rain quite a bit, but it was still good. There was talk there, and I think somebody did, I can't remember who it was, Debbie, I think it may have been you, that talked to Skate Like a Girl. And Skate Like a Girl has some programs. It's an organization that has some programs, and they are scheduling next summer some potential classes and whatever. And I think it might be a good investment of city funds to look at having Skate Like a Girl out here and maybe run a program for at least a 1 week program or a class or something for the kids in the neighborhood that really want to get involved. And I would really like to see that opportunity, especially with the kids that we have next door in the trailer park and the girls over there that could be very interested, and the young kids. So, I mean, if we could see our way to doing something like that next summer, I think that they are looking to fill the summer stuff now. So it's something that we would really need to look into and say, yes, let's go ahead and do that. So, I mean, if there's no objections, I'd love somebody to come back to us and tell us what it costs so we could make a decision to move forward with something for whatever period next summer, sort of do something for the kids. So unless there's any strong objections, we can find some information back. Good. I also got to spend some time with Congresswoman Del Bene. She was here for the opening, and we went off to Starbucks and we spent about 45 minutes together talking about everything that's going on here in the community. We talked about Daniels and about the park. We talked about some potential problems. We talked about Kenmore Air. We talked about the bridge in Log Boom Park. We talked about a number of potential developments here in the city, and she was very happy to get some inside information on some stuff, and she's very, very supportive of us and what we're doing, and so it turned out to be a really good day. So unless there's anything else, our next meeting is on the 29th, and I mean on the 19th, and we have a Planning Commission meeting. When's the next Planning Commission meeting?
Have a joint one on the 26th.
Okay.
That's joint.
Yeah, that's a joint meeting with us, yes. Yep. So, yeah, the Planning Commission's got one on the 20th by themselves and then on the 26th with us. So unless there's anything else to come before us, we're adjourned.